Welcome one and all to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy and this is Scruffy Tales. And with the complete disaster that just took place in Washington between Zelensky, Trump and JD Vance, it's not looking good. And we might see a larger conflict escalate quickly in Europe as a consequence. Right, so, we've all seen the interview. It's a complete, total mess and a shit show. And Trump and JD Vance ambushed Zelensky. This is what they were looking for. No way it got this out of hand without it being planned ahead. And they revealed their cards here, Trump and JD Vance. They have no interest in helping Ukraine. They have no sympathy for the people of Ukraine. All they want is money. They want Ukraine to pay money for the assistance. They want Ukraine to thank the United States for all the help they're getting. And they want Zelensky and the Ukrainian people to go down on their knees and kissing the feet of the President of the United States. That's what this is all about. They want to pressure Ukraine for money, for wealth, and for obedience and compliance. And what is the end result? More than likely, Ukraine will resist all of this. Europe will resist all of this. And knowing Trump, he will probably deny Ukraine assistance, military assistance. He will. It is a possibility that the United States will stop supporting Ukraine because Trump got pissed off at Zelensky after this, and he also made a tweet, or if it was on his own social app there, that he wants Zelensky to basically conform to whatever it is that Trump is asking for, more or less. It's crazy. It's all insanity. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous as hell, because if the United States pulls out from supporting Ukraine, Europe ends up in a situation where they have to step things up drastically. This is what Trump put out online. Take a look. It's just madness. The guy is lunatic. And but take a look at this. I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. Right? He can come back when he's ready for peace. He is forcing Ukraine to accept that Russia grabs 20% of the country. Zelensky has to admit that. He has to come to Trump and say, I want peace. I want to end the war here and now. We're going to draw the new border along the current front line. So Ukraine loses 20% of its territory, and with it, a greater part of all natural resources, because Russia is currently occupying parts of Ukraine where all the natural resources are located. Right? So that is what Trump is demanding of Ukraine. And if Ukraine tells the United States and Trump to, well, you can F off, the United States more than likely removes military aid to Ukraine, and then Ukraine, I'm not sure Ukraine can actually win the war with only European assistance. And that is, it's such a stab in the back, because we're seeing Russia forced to rely on mules and donkeys to manage their logistics. Their tanks were reduced to burnt out wrecks, and then they turned them into Franken tanks and Turtle tanks. That didn't work. They then had to use golf carts, motorcycles. Now they're sending the troops into combat on crutches and in civilian cars, and their logistics are broken down and they're using donkeys. We can also see that the US and Europe, they are outproducing Russia in terms of artillery ammunition. Ukraine is being provided state-of-the-art weaponry in the form of Lynx infantry fighting vehicles, CV-9035 infantry fighting vehicles, Leopard 2A6, Leopard 2A7, potentially Leopard 2A8, and state-of-the-art weaponry. And the Russians are forced to buy equipment from the 50s and 60s from North Korea, right? And we all thought in 2022 that this war would be over in 2 weeks. It's 3 years later, and the front line is now within Russia itself. Russia is relying on donkeys for logistics, on civilian cars for assaults, and the front line is within Russia 3 years on. This war was not going in Russia's favor. Fuck's sake, Ukraine doesn't have a navy, and Russia lost the Black Sea Fleet here at Sevastopol. Missiles, Western missiles provided to Ukraine, has pierced every Russian air defense and struck targets at Sevastopol and all over Russia. Ukraine has reduced Russian oil production by 20 to 25%. And Trump comes along and stabs Ukraine in the back. So what happens? What happens now if the United States pulls all support for Ukraine? Well, we know that in 2023, Macron said that if Russia has a big breakthrough, we must consider if France should deploy troops to Ukraine. And if the United States pulls support from Ukraine, then that breakthrough is a real possibility. We know Russia is pushing hard at Pokrovsk. We know they're pushing hard here, south here at Velika Novosilka. You can see here they're pushing strongly. Up here they've crossed the river Oskil, and they are expanding their hold west of the Oskil, and they are pushing back Ukraine in Kursk slowly but surely. Remove all the missiles, remove all the artillery, and all the javelin anti-tank weapons and what have you. Chances are that we will see a breakthrough at one of these locations, and then Russia may try and make a push for the Dnieper River. At which point, we now have to ask ourselves, or the French, will we deploy troops if Ukraine asks for help? Will Poland deploy troops? And then it's going to be a domino effect. Then we're going to have all of Europe, guaranteed, within 6 months. Within 6 months of French troops setting foot in Ukraine, all of Europe will be involved. And then Russia and Belarus will be involved. It's dangerous. I mean, we are looking at a wider war in Europe. Can the combined armies of Europe handle Russia? In the air, I'm pretty certain that they can. But then again, a lot of the European countries operate F-35. What will Trump do? Will he demand ridiculous amounts of cash so that Europe can keep the F-35s operational, armed with missiles? When Polish and French troops, if it comes to it, rolls through Ukraine, are they prepared how to deal with tens of thousands of drones in the air? Or will Western European militaries be reduced to rubble and burned out wrecks as drones drop in from the sky. Remember, we here in Western Europe, or in Europe at large, we're not used to having drones dropping down out of the sky at every turn. So as soon as these armies roll into combat against experienced Russian drone operators, I mean, it's going to be a nasty surprise. There are no guarantees that the European armies will break through and roll all the way to Moscow. We're going to have to face experienced drone operators that know, and with inexperienced troops. In the air, F-35s and Swedish Gripen will, without a doubt, shoot the Russians to kingdom come. But on the ground, it's not a given. Not at all. This is super dangerous. And then we have the Russian fleet at Murmansk. If they get past Norway, they can begin launching missiles all over the place. Their submarines can go and hunt down civilian ship and lock down trade routes and what have you. It's dangerous. Russian operatives, agents, special forces will infiltrate all of Europe, go after factories, go after infrastructure, go after telecommunications, blow up harbors. I mean, set off a couple of drones in the harbors here along in the Netherlands, and you're gonna have refineries and ships carrying propane or what have you. They're gonna detonate all over the place. This is super dangerous if the United States, for whatever reason, decides not to support Ukraine. The chances for France and Poland to get involved increase tenfold. And if that happens, Germany and United Kingdom, they will follow. Baltic states, Nordics. We're gonna have to. This is no joke. Russia still has a lot of capabilities. And we are gonna be charging into a battle we are not prepared for. The drones are such a big game changer. It could be overwhelming, to be frank. And I mean, Trump, he's a greedy asshole. He's a greedy bastard. Well, if we have a greater war in Europe, why? I mean, I'm sure Trump will sell Europe weapons expensively. I mean, he's gonna charge a huge amount of dollars for Europe to purchase all the parts and equipment they need to keep the F-35s flying, to resupply the Patriot systems and what have you. And I mean, basically every European Air Force, in essence, relies on American missiles to be able to fight in the air. So, what's the demand going to be? Greenland, the Ruhr area, oil in the North Sea. I mean, he just wants wealth, right? That's why he's after Greenland. That's why he wants Panama. That's why he wants the deal in Ukraine. It's going to cost Europe to be fighting effective, making deals with the United States. And also, I mean, Trump is, like I said, a businessman. Why wouldn't he sell weapons to Russia? Right? If Putin gives him a favorable deal on whatever, why would Trump not sell weapons to Russia at this point? It's going to make the American military industrial complex enormously wealthy. if they can sell weapons to both Europe and Russia, and if this war does kick off, right? It's just the situation in the world is perilous at the moment, and who knows what's going to happen next. I mean, who knows? But then again, I mean, Ukraine, they might fold if they realize that they can't fight on without American support. Then maybe Ukraine will fold. Maybe Zelensky steps down. They have a new president that makes a new deal with the United States and Trump, just to ensure that they keep getting the weapons they need. I mean, but then evil wins either way, right? Sure, Ukraine can stop Russia, but the United States and Trump can bully anyone all over the place, basically. So I'm not. Is that really a win? If Ukraine becomes a vassal state of the United States, where the US can gain access to all the natural wealth they want. Because if Zelensky steps down, even then these weapons will come at a tremendous cost. Trump will demand a tremendous amount of wealth from Ukraine. I'm certain of it. But I mean, even if that happens, I think Europe will move on its own. It's gonna cut as many ties as possible with the United States. United Kingdom may actually consider joining Europe again. Norway certainly will consider increasing the cooperation with Europe, and ties will be cut with the United States as long as Trump is president. I'm pretty sure of that. And more than likely we will see a grand European army in the end of this. Defense spending will increase, and Europe will be very suspicious of United States activities from now on, especially if we continue having talks about Greenland and stuff like that. Then it's going to be a whole lot of tension between Europe and the United States, because Europe cannot trust the United States anymore, especially if, as long as Trump is president, Europe will never trust the United States. Not going to happen. So so Europe will try and do as much as possible on their own, and they will cut ties to the American military industrial complex and try and build domestic hardware. And what's left of Ukraine will join the European community, more than likely. And if the EU or Europe at large does create a joint military defense structure, I'm sure Ukraine will be part of it, no matter what Russia says about it. And then again, then we're back at it. If Russia starts complaining about Ukraine getting involved in the EU, getting involved in a European army, then we have tension once again between Europe and Russia. Again, the potential of a great war. And again, the United States can sell weapons to both warring parties. And just like during World War I, or especially during World War II, if there is a great war, there's going to be a need to rebuild the affected areas. and the United States is going to sweep in and offer a lot of assistance, but it's going to cost money. It's going to cost a lot of money to accept American assistance to rebuild what has been destroyed. I mean, so I am pessimistic. I am not confident that this will end well at all. Yeah, a bit doom and gloom. I'm worried. I really am. What happens if Russia has a big breakthrough? What happens if Ukraine asks for assistance and France answers the call? I mean, there's no way in hell we let France do that on their own. Why would we? Right? It's our duty to, in that case, help France, help Poland, or whoever deploys its forces to Ukraine. And then it's on for real. And it potentially might have begun today in Washington. Scary stuff. Really scary stuff.